Hey guys, this is RMD Tech, and today we're going to be doing something quite interesting. We're going to be combining an HTPC with a NAS. So that is taking both of those functionalities and putting that into one combined system. And the reason why that's quite interesting is because those two usually tend not to go together. However, today we're going to be taking a stab in the dark and trying it out and seeing how it goes. So without further ado, let's get started. It only really makes sense for us to start with what's going on inside this system. So you'll have to forgive me, I'm not using the most ideal parts list, however I am just using what I had available that I could bodge together to create this Frankenstein of a PC. So for my CPU I decided to go with an AMD A10 6800K, and my reasoning behind that is because I wanted the more powerful onboard graphics that AMD APUs are able to provide over, say, Intel CPUs. And that will be going into a BioStar A58MD motherboard. It's only the first revision and it's not a very good motherboard in the first place, so unfortunately it's not going to have really any sort of special features, so that's not ideal. There's a lot of not ideal things in this system. Speaking of things that aren't ideal, I'm only using 4GB of dual channel DDR3 memory, so it's, granted, again, not particularly much. However, it's all I had available at hand because all my other sticks were elsewhere doing other things. In terms of hard drive capacity, now this is important because it is a NAS. And again, I've bodged it. I will not be using WD Reds or Seagate Iron Wolf NAS hard drives as I probably should be. Instead, I'll be using WD Greens, which granted are better than, say, WD Caviar Blues for this instance. However, they are designed for sort of only being used every now and again, which granted is exactly how I'll be using this system. For me, having hot swappable storage was an incredibly important part of this build, so when I reached out to Akasa asking if they'd be willing to help out with the video, they sent over this, their Lockstore M51 5¼ drive bay extension, and it actually allows you to install hot swap 3.5" hard drives as well as 2.5" hard drives. So with that box over there, it's actually an incredibly simple and easy way to just quickly hot swap hard drives. You just flip open the bay, take out the old hard drive, put in the new one, close that bad boy up, and then Windows will recognise the new hard drive straight away. And I found that incredibly useful because I actually have a lot of data stored on, well, just cold storage in hard drives which just sat lying on my shelf right there. So for me to be able to access that data so easily is an incredibly useful part of this NAS build. Building this system certainly didn't come without its challenges though. For instance, as you saw earlier in that little clip, putting on that CPU cooler was definitely a breathtaking moment. That was, kept me on edge the entire time. Really dodgy installation system, but it finally went on and it's working now, so it's all okay. Motherboard is in tip-top condition. And also, that CPU cooler was also the cause of my next issue, which was the fact that the CPU cooler got in the way of me installing the hard drives, so I actually had to completely remove the motherboard and CPU cooler again, then put in the hard drives, and then put the motherboard back, because there just wasn't enough room to get around that beefy CPU cooler. It's not even that big, it's just quite a small case, and it's just, granted, and probably not the best design. But what am I actually using this system for? Well, my predominant uses are a Plex server, so I can watch all my films and TV shows remotely, as well as we're using it as a video ingest station, so all the videos being recorded on that camera right now are being imported to the NAS HTPC combo build via an SD card and then networked to my main system here so I can actually edit it. And then I'm also using it as file storage so I can remotely access all my files from wherever I am. So that about covers what I'll be using this HTPC/NAS combo build for. But how could you take advantage of it? Well, for instance, you may want to use it as a home security server so that you could set up all your cameras and everything to help protect your household or your business, whatever you might be running. You could also use it as a file server or an automatic backup server, both of which are perfectly valid and very good ways of backing up your data and making sure that it remains safe. You could also use it as a home media server so that you could help run your Plex server or a Kodi so that you can actually access your data easily and your files and TV shows from sort of a remote device elsewhere on your network. And then also, if you want to take advantage of the HTPC aspect of it, you could connect, say, a Steam controller or an Xbox controller and sit it out in the living room down by the TV and play a couple of indie games that aren't very demanding and just have fun that way. So I do hope you guys found that video interesting. Now, as I did say at the beginning, the components I used in making this build weren't exactly ideal. So if you'd like to see a follow-up video where I upgrade the parts, maybe a new APU, upgrade to DDR4 RAM, and maybe some new hard drives, then do be sure to leave a comment down below, and I'll be sure to make that video for you guys. But until then, I'll see you in the next one.